All right, everyone. Good evening. Hello once again. Welcome back to another episode of the Below Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Lane Pavlon. Alongside me, I have Justin Heber,
Yep.
my analyst. And once again, another interesting and very chaotic race weekend we had. I don't know
Yep.
what to make of for F1. That's going to be a whole different discussion on its own. That was a disaster for just everybody. The worst possible scenario that could happen, and I hate it for all the 70,000 fans. But we're gonna break that down for you guys after our NASCAR talk because we're gonna begin as we always do with our NASCAR discussion. Justin, hope your weekend was well. I think
Yep.
that's pretty good. Same here. A lot of guys going into college, coming back, starting their semesters. Um, as have I. I'm back in college. I'm only taking one class this fall, but uh, might be expanding more in the spring. Who knows? But it looks like I'm just going to stick with one for the fall. But yeah, college is back for most of us down here and around North America. But let's get started with NASCAR because you know what else has started? The NASCAR playoffs and the way the regular season ended it was just what everyone expected. I'd say going into this regular season finale at Daytona International Speedway for the second year in a row. We have a 400-mile race at Daytona. And for the second week in a row on a super speedway, Ryan Blaney goes to victory lane. Fun fact, Ryan Blaney has won 7 times in his career. 6 out of those 7 wins have been on super speedway tracks. Pocono, Talladega, Talladega again. Atlanta Motor Speedway. Michigan, Daytona in the 400-mile race. Ryan Blaney's on fire.
Yep.
And what better way to start the playoffs than to get those bonus points when you need them the most? That's exactly what he did.
Yep.
We're going to break down the results for you guys. We'll start off, from this Daytona Coke Zero 400, Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona International Speedway. You know, second time it's been ran outside the 4th of July weekend on the planned date. I'm excluding the 1998 wildfires that moved the date to October. But, love it or hate it, this is what we have. And to make the playoffs, I think with the format there's no better track to do it. I'm going to quote off Eric Estep. If this is what NASCAR wants, to have a win in your end situation, there's no better track to close the regular season out than at Daytona International Speedway with this super speedway package that we've got. And it's been tweaked pretty well between Talladega and from the spring and today or Saturday, last Saturday night at Daytona International Speedway. A better comparison might be the Daytona 500, of course, but the track conditions are very different. It's much cooler during the Daytona 500. Obviously, the majority of the races run in the day. In the summer race, it's much hotter. There's a lot more humid. The track runs different, a little bit different. Not too much, but a little bit that you can point stuff out if you're a driver or crew chief. You might have to put the tire pressure together differently. And majority of the races are held at night. So take it as you will. And luckily for this year, there was no situation like we had 2 years ago. Obviously, 2 years ago, it was not the regular season finale. But the point being is that the race was ran at Saturday night at its planned time. So these teams, of course, this year, second year in a row, no practice, no qualifying, none of that. They have to come prepared with the car that's prepared to race on a Saturday night. That's their only, chance at it, and everything worked just right for most of these teams. But Ryan Blaney was in the right place at the right time. He only led 7 laps. It's hard to believe he only led 7 laps the way he was running up front. Forward. Let's go down to the results before we talk about the race, because there are a lot of things we need to break down. Second place, Bubba Wallace. 8 laps he led, started 20th, mid-pack, pretty much mid-pack to the front all night. Really led the Toyota train for a while, especially after the Joe Gibbs cars had problems. his career best finish of second for the second time of his career, tying, of course, equally, ironically, Daytona from 2018 when he finished second in the Daytona 500, driving for Richard Petty Motorsports. And for 2311 Racing, that's their best finish as a team this year. That is their second top 5. And just off the week of announcing a new team, a new entry will be going into the 2311 Staples of Kurt Busch, a former champion and a stellar driver. Daytona 500 winner. I think these guys have a lot to be excited about, Justin. I'd say, if anything, this 2311 team, the confidence level is higher than it's ever been.
Yep.
And yeah, it's off luck. I mean, he could have been in that wreck. The way he threw it, it was hero zero. He got lucky, much like he did the Talladega 500 earlier this year when Joey Logano's car landed on just next to his hood. Lost his hood. But he can drive these tracks very well, and it shows that staying out of trouble and working with your team, it's just the way of the draft, and that's what you have to do to win these races. How about this? A good story for a third place driver, Ryan Newman, who led 2 laps, started 23rd, best finish of the year in third place. Ryan Newman, the 2008 champion of the Daytona 500. We have no idea where he's going next year, or whether or not he will be in the Cup Series altogether. And for Ryan Newman, a third place finish is something to be very satisfied with. This track has not been very good to him at all. In fact, he had a very trying moment at Daytona last year when he was just a couple of 100 feet from winning his second Daytona 500, and a millisecond later, he's knocked out on his roof, flying in the air. It looked for a moment like something very bad was going to happen in the outcome, and 2 days later, of course, we all knew what happened. He ended up walking out with his daughters in the hospital.
Yeah.
And to see that Ryan Newman was able to get a top 3 finish, a nice podium result, top 5, especially after the year he's had last year and this year, it just hasn't been too good for him. And the fact that we know he may not even be back in the Cup Series next year, it says a lot about Ryan Newman's performance. And I hope we see him in the Cup Series again next year if we, continue to see runs like this. And by the way, let's not forget, Ryan Newman's on a winless streak.
Yeah.
Let's turn back the clock. He won Richard Childress at Phoenix. Now, mind you, he won 0 times in his championship, near championship run in 2014, but he only had 1 win at Richard Childress Racing. He could have won multiple times for that team. And some years he was better than Austin Dillon, even in years where Austin Dillon won races. And it says a lot. And also, Ryan Newman, I mean, they look at Talladega in 2017, 2019, Daytona 500 in 2020, just being out there so close to a win. And to see that Ryan Newman brought it home in third, whether or not he was competing for the win for most of the race, it's a good story. Ryan Preece, very underrated on these super speedways. He got top 5 in the Daytona 500. Talladega's best career finish at third. It's good for him. Started 24th, but you had to win the race to get that last spot in the playoffs, and that was not the case. I think if there's a Driver of the Day award, Justin, I would give it to Tyler Reddick and his entire crew.
Yeah.
Not giving up the fight. He started 17th. He was caught up in the big wreck. The car was smoking. It looked like he was all for done. Looked like, you drive around like that, NASCAR's black flag you. Guess what? He got whatever he needed to do fixed. He got it all done, and yes, he stayed in the race, and he was in the lead pack. Stayed out of trouble, brought it home in 5th, and we'll get to see a Richard Childress racing car compete for this championship. That is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
6th place finish went to the 2019 winner, Justin Haley. For Spire Motorsports in his last start at this event for Spire Motorsports, as he started in 28th position. 7th place, Alex Bowman started 15th. Stage 1 winner Chase Elliott led 36 laps, started 5th, brought it home 8th. And give a call to these 2 drivers. BJ McLeod, the owner driver, gets his best finish as a driver and as an owner. in that car 78, bringing it home in 9th, slow and steady wins the race. That was
yeah.
a win.
Yeah,
that's like a home track to him.
Yeah, he's from Florida.
From the Panhandle.
Yep, and live fast. This is their first season in the Cup Series, first top 10 for that team, which is
huge.
No, like I know, like they're not the best, but they do finish top 20. They're like between 25th, 30th, so they're better than Starcom. Sorry, Quinhouse.
But like seriously.
But like still, that's really good to finish 9th. I know there was a crash, but staying out of trouble. Like he stayed out of trouble and was in the lead draft for most of the night. I saw that 78 like not getting lapped. It wasn't one of those cars that stayed on the lead lap.
A lot of fans expected him to be one of the first cars to get lapped, and that was just a spectacular. How about Josh Bilicki? Top 10 finish, his career best effort drive for Rick Racing. Absolute phenomenal drive by Josh Bilicki, and he deserves a lot of credit for bringing that car home in the top 10. Let's look outside the top 10. I want to highlight some drivers here. We'll start off with Denny Hamlin, who led 7 laps. I thought he would have been a favorite in the race. He was running up front most of the time, but just wasn't in the right place at the right time. It seemed during those pit stops that set him back a little bit. He was in some of the wrecks. Brought him home 13th, started 3rd. Pretty good run for Hamlin. A lot of fans expect better, to be honest. Kevin Harvick, the 2010 winner of this race, led 4 laps, started 11th, brought it home in 15th. He's got a lot of work to do for championship number 2.
Well, he did get caught up in the wreck, remember?
He almost went for that win. He was very close.
He was the one that got spun first. He was second and got turned by Kurt Busch got into Suarez, which turned Harvick around and triggered that big wreck heading in the 3.
Yep. Corey LaJoie was going for the win. He's doing everything humanly possible those last 2 laps. Got past and was involved in that last lap wreck. He led 1 lap, started 33rd, had a fast car. I think Spire Motorsports really, saved up some dollars for this effort.
Yeah.
And he was credited with a 16th place finish. Austin Dillon. He was so close to making it into the playoffs. It was either down to himself or Tyler Reddick or somebody outside of the Richard Childress camp that was not already part of the playoffs. It would have been one of those 3 candidates, and Austin Dillon was the first man out. He led 3 laps. He did everything he could. Started 27th. Was credited with the 17th place finish. Ross Chastain had a very, very impressive run. Probably his best run yet in a plate race. Started 29th. That's pretty far back. Led 14 laps. Finished 18th. Was a factor. And we know that, going into this race, that he will stay with the team as they morph into Trackhouse Racing. While Kurt Busch, he'll stay in the Cup Series, but he'll be leaving what is left of Chip Ganassi Racing after they leave for Trackhouse to merge with them. And then, of course, he'll go to 2311. But, it's less pressure, of course, than if your name is Matt DiBenedetto, which I'm so gutted for because he was really giving it all. Knowing the situation that he's in, it's more than just a chance at a championship. It's more of himself a chance at a ride. We'll get into all that stuff later when we talk about the detailed parts of this race. Let's talk about Joey Logano. He was an easy favorite by many. A little aggressive. I mean, we know he's pretty fearless out there running these tracks. Led the most laps at 37. Yeah, 37 laps in a 165 lap race, to be exact. Yeah. That's the most laps led. The driver with the most laps led. 37 laps in a 165 lap race. Just let that sink in for you. And he won stage 2. But Logano was involved in some trouble and was credited with a 23rd place finish.
Yeah.
Let's go down the list, shall we? How about this driver? Give a call to Texas's own David Starr.
Yep.
In his early 50s, still running in the Cup Series.
Yep.
And honestly, 27th place. That's a career best effort, tying a race that he had back in I think it was 2011 at 2011 at Bristol.
Oh yeah, when he
the night race.
Yeah, drove for Le Mans '95.
Ironically, a team.
Yeah.
But that was ironically a team that almost won a few times in this event last year.
Yeah.
We got to come here. Joe Samaniego says, I think Kirk got the better team next year compared to Ross.
Well,
that's going to be very close.
But that's good for David Starr. I know he was lapped a few times at one point, but remember at one point he was in the top 20. He was 15th at one point. I remember seeing he was sometimes in the pack, which was interesting for that 66 car, which I give credit to him.
Absolutely.
They put someone that has experience in the car. And he has
no starting parks. Everyone that started this race went for it from start to finish. So that's a huge effort.
Yeah.
Let's continue on the results. We have some more drivers to look at. Martin Truex Jr., we know how much he wants to win at Daytona. He led 13 laps, started in 7th. He did finish the race, but 3 laps down in the 29th place position.
Yeah.
Got involved in some trouble. Now we're going to get into the actual retirements, excluding the cars that failed to complete the final lap. 32nd place, 34th place, 36th place. We're going to talk some Toyotas here. Christopher Bell, 8 laps he led. He was up front for most of the time during those green flag pit stops. Was involved in an accident. Took him out of the race. 32nd place finish, completed 157 laps. Kyle Busch started 4th. This race has not been good to him, even though he's won it some 13 years ago.
Yeah.
He's only won it once, and it seems like ever since 2009 and even a little bit of 2007, it seems like whatever he does in this race, the track just does not allow him to succeed. And this is no exception. 5-lap sled, was involved in that crash with about 11 or 10 laps ago. The crash,
with Chase Elliott, that block.
Benedetto.
Yeah.
34th place for him. Let's talk about 36th place finisher Landon Castle, who made his first start since Homestead of 2019. He was given a deal to drive for the Gaunt brothers, a Toyota team that was very impressive. We have to say, he definitely outperformed my expectations.
Yeah.
And so did the equipment behind his car.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I don't think they disclosed whether or not that was a factory-supported deal, but regardless, I got a lot of reminders of how Daniel Suarez drove in that 96 car last year at the play track. So,
well, we know Landon will run at Talladega in that car with the same sponsor, but you know that crash you were talking about?
Yeah.
Do you want to know Kaz Gralla, who hit Kyle Busch? Remember Kaz Gralla?
He on the 18.
There was the 16. Gralla hit the 18, when Kyle Busch was bounced off the inside wall. Remember Gralla on one of the replays? You saw Gralla's car. Mm-hmm. He did actually get injured. He has a temporary cast on his foot. It was revealed, so just to let people know
very scary impact too, especially on both sides. No one saw him coming, and I knew right from there.
Yeah, Gralla didn't expect Kyle Busch to bounce off the inside wall back onto the pit road. Gralla was going to go down pit road to avoid the crash.
He almost did.
Yep.
William Byron finished 37th. Not only that, he led some 12 laps last year's winner of the race. Started second. Credit of 37th place finish, and then of course Chris Buescher at 48th place was contending for the win. Crossed the line in second place, led 8 laps in the process, but his car failed post-race inspection, so he was disqualified.
Yeah,
and was credited with a last place finish.
Yeah, for a legal track bar mount under the car, but people are like, how did Dan find in pre-race inspection? The thing with post-race, they take apart the car basically. That's what they do. But pre-race, they put in the tens, the disco party that Joseph nicknames that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the disco party.
yeah, they put in there. But after post-race, they take apart the car. So that's why
Yes.
they found it in post-race. But still, it was interesting.
Come to think of it, maybe it was better that he didn't win the race than finish second, because that would have been a huge victory for the team.
Yeah, that would have been really huge.
Chris Buescher drove a great race. He stayed out of trouble. He's a good plate racer. A lot of people seem to look away from Chris Buescher and say, "Oh, well, that's Ryan Newman leading these kinds of races for Roush." Sure, but it seems like a lot of people forget in the 2020 Daytona 500 that Chris Buescher was running most of the race in the top 5 towards the end.
Yeah, like recently, Chris Buescher's been really good at these plate tracks for Roush. Like, if you go to a plate track, you always got to count Chris Buescher to be there. Like, he was there at the end of Talladega. Remember the Talladega race?
Yeah, he was part of that yellow-lined controversy.
Yeah, so you always see Chris Buescher in contention. He's always there. So, yeah.
All right. Now we're going to discuss the NASCAR playoffs. So, of course, this ends our regular season, the 26-race regular season, and it starts our 10-race NASCAR playoffs. I'll break it down for you guys because I know it's a lot for some to understand more than others. I mean, hey, I've been watching NASCAR since the mid-2000s. I still have a hard time getting a grip around the NASCAR playoffs, but I'll break it down for you. So, the Cup Series, round of 16, we have 16 drivers in the final 10 races competing for a championship spot. Each round has a series of 3 races.
Yep.
In those 3 races, the best drivers are going to advance to the next round.
Yep.
In the group of from 16 in a group of 4, from 16 to 12 to 12 to 8, and then our championship 4 will be decided. However, if you are a playoff driver, you win and you're still in the fight in those 3 races, you are automatically locked up into the next round.
Yep.
Everything else, of course, is dependent on points.
Yep.
4 drivers get eliminated from each round. So we determine the 12 seeded the 12 seeds after these next 3 races, which is Darlington, Richmond, and Bristol.
Yep.
And then, of course, the round of 12, another group of 3 races. Another 4 drivers get eliminated.
Yeah.
The round of 8, another group of 3 races, and another 4 drivers get eliminated. And the championship 4 races, as simple as it can be, the highest of the 4 drivers that are atop the board in that one race wins the championship. And how every round starts, you get bonus points. Everybody starts the round at 1,000, at some thousand number of points, a number 1,000. So the first round, 2,000. The second round, 3,000. The third round, 4,000. And of course, the final 4 races just based off the the final position, and then they give you the points for that.
Yeah, it's 5,000 plus whatever points.
Right.
Yeah.
But for the rounds preceding the final 4, you get your 1,000 number of points. So in this case, 2,000 points plus the amount of bonus points that you've earned throughout the preceding events. And that's where you're placed. So Kyle Larson, of course, won the regular season championship. We're going to go down the 16 driver list right now. 2052. So 2052. He has 52 bonus points, more than anybody else. That places him on top of the championship standings.
Yep, 15 of those.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, 15 of those his 52 were his regular season championship. If people don't know, if you win the regular season championship, you get 15 extra bonus points.
Ryan Blaney, as well as Martin Truex Jr., are tied for second and third in this championship fight. So with 24 points, 2,000 points plus 24 bonus points, share Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. second and third on the list. Those drivers are really going to have to rely on the stage points for these next group of 3 races because it gets pretty tight behind them. let's take a look at why that is. Kyle Busch, 22 points with 22 bonus points. That places Kyle Busch in 4th. Chase Elliott in 5th, 21 points plus 21 for Chase Elliott, 21 bonus points. Alex Bowman with 15 bonus points, as well as Denny Hamlin, so 6th and 7th, 2015. William Byron with 14 points, 14 bonus points for William Byron. Joey Logano, I'm actually surprised to see him this low in the championship. 9th place, 13 points, 13 bonus points. 10th place is Brad Keselowski as well as Kurt Busch. 10th and 11th are tied with 2008 points, 2008 points, plus 8 bonus points for each of those drivers. Then 12th, 13th, and 14th. These are drivers that really got in based off of just winning a race and having a good.
Yeah, that's the amount of bonus points.
5 bonus points for those guys. That leaves Tyler Reddick plus 3 bonus points, 3 points plus 3 for Tyler Reddick, the lone Richard Childress driver in, and the second Stewart-Haas Racing driver in the championship, the 2014 champion, Kevin Harvick, with 2002 points, 2 bonus points, and you have your 16 drivers. Our 3 races, we have the Darlington Southern 500, the Richmond 400, and the Bristol 500 lap race.
Yep.
And mind you, I think this has been a little bit difficult. Actually, more difficult than people are making this round to be. I'll explain for a minute. You can't take the 400-mile race at Darlington and use it as preparation for the Southern 500. No, I'll explain.
There's
the 400-mile race at Darlington is in the spring. It's a lot cooler in the spring over there.
Not just that.
It's a shorter race. It's the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really make use in preparation for a 500-mile race out of a 400-mile race. That extra 100 miles that you get in the Southern 500 makes absolute difference between winning or losing. And tire wear is hugely, vastly different. The Southern 500, it's in the summer. It's a hot summer evening race. We have just hotter temperatures. The tires wear faster, it seems. What else? It looks like hitting the scraping the wall. You're gonna see a lot of that. A lot of paint on the wall.
Yeah.
This track can become single groove pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
It's a narrow racing surface, and one thing I'll mention is the tire wear will be tricky, fuel mileage, and all that stuff. So, of course, that's already given, just like last year. Richmond, I don't think there's too much of a difference. I mean, we still have the 400-mile race from the late spring to the early fall.
But the one in spring, difference. It was a day race, different temperatures. This one's an evening race, like nighttime in the fall. That's a bit different. Last year they had this race on the Saturday, but the cars handle more different.
And last year it was the only race at Richmond.
Yeah, this time they had a second race, but in the day and tire wear. Yeah, 400 laps, but the tire wear is more extreme in the evening. I've noticed at Richmond than during the day. So tire wear is going to matter. The brakes, you're always on the brakes.
Big time.
Ooh, Richmond, you're a lot. You get on those brakes a lot at Richmond.
You know, I think comparing Richmond to Bristol in terms of the short tracks, the quality of, the type, the characteristics of a short track day of Bristol, it's like apples to oranges, but to a further level. This is like apples to carrots. Bristol, here's the thing with Bristol. Unlike last year, or pretty much all years prior to this, we didn't get a spring race there. And what I mean by that is we raced on the dirt track, the Bristol.
Yeah, that's
You're
not the
not going
same.
to learn what you need to learn for
A
your
big,
traditional pavement race at Bristol for
yeah,
500 laps.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and with the placement and the schedule, you can't go down and race the truck series.
Nope.
You can't. I mean, you can maybe with Xfinity if you have enough races left in your
Yeah.
limits. But
Your 5 race limit, but trucks you can't. Yeah, like it's gonna be yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, like the thing about Richmond to Bristol is like apples and carrots. Like you can't compare it. Like it's like the dirt Bristol to Bristol. You're comparing like apples to pizza. That's even worse. Like you can't compare dirt and paved. It's not the same surface.
no.
250 laps is not the same length as 500. Like it's more different. So yeah, so it's 3 different types of tracks.
So
Yeah.
now I'm going to bring another question here before we move on to our Xfinity discussion. And that is, I want you to name the 4 drivers that are going to miss the cut for the round of 12.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to name you 1 driver that you think will have a surprise shot into the round of 12.
My picks for it to be out of the round of to be eliminated, my 4 picks: Michael McDowell, Eric Almirola, Christopher Bell, and Kevin Harvick. I have Kevin Harvick out of the round of 12, like not even making it.
Okay, I have Tyler Reddick out, Eric Almirola, Michael McDowell, and Kurt Busch. I just don't know why. I feel like Kurt Busch will find a way out. I mean, he's a great driver. Don't get me wrong. He's got some of his best tracks ahead. But Kevin Harvick is going to steal a spot that Kurt Busch could by winning. I mean, we got some of Kevin's best tracks on the way.
Yeah, but this season
We didn't get a spring Bristol race to really learn from that.
But
And of course, the pavement, we didn't get any of that. It's hard to tell from Richmond, but we know the Southern 500, he's won it 3 times.
Yeah, but he lost the first race. You had Kyle Larson and Mark Truex Jr. that are in the field. Yeah, those 2 that might dominate those races again. But
Harvick is the guy that will surprise many, and that's why I feel like if I don't make it known that he could do it again, chances are it's going to happen, and that's why I feel confident in Kevin Harvick. But if it doesn't happen, he's out of the round. He doesn't have a good number of points.
Well, I have Tyler Reddick surprisingly make it to the round of 12. Like I feel like Darlington, he's good at these tracks where the high lane is really good. Richmond, he's decent on short tracks, and Bristol, high lane is a good line to be in. Tyler Reddick's good at many sorts of tracks. If he's on the high lane at certain tracks, you know he's gonna be there. Like he's one of the first people, like Kyle Larson, up against the wall. And I've seen Tyler Reddick really do good at some of these tracks.
I feel like the first round will be very fluid. You don't know who's going to make it. You don't even know who's going to miss it until it happens. All right. I think that's enough discussion for our NASCAR playoffs. We're going to go ahead and continue on with our NASCAR Xfinity Series discussion. Justin Haley wins the Daytona 250 for the 2nd year in a row.
Yep.
And Kaulig Racing is a member of the 3 Winners Club for this event.
Yep.
And they did it 3 in a row.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost like these guys own this track or the big super speedway play tracks. It's just how they roll. Kaulig Racing doing exactly what they've been doing very well. A spot on performance by the whole team. Justin Haley led 5 laps. He won stage 1, started 9th, and picked up his 4th career win in a photo finish against his teammate AJ Allmendinger, who led 29 laps more than anybody else. Started in 1st place, but finished in 2nd. Third place. Oh, man. Justin Allgaier. If there was another lap to this race, he might have had a chance to catch them. Justin Allgaier started in fourth. He finished third. And he's been waiting for so long for that win at Daytona. It's going to have to wait. Jeb Burton won stage 2. He led 8 laps, started 13th. A fourth place effort for Jeb Burton. Fifth place went to Daniel Hemrick, who needed a turnaround race. He had a bad stretch in the late summer and finally gets a good top 5 effort. Daniel Hemrick, fifth place, I meant. Sixth place went to Christopher Bell. Now, Christopher Bell, he led 23 of the 100 laps in this race. It's a fast race compared to the 300-mile event that we have in February.
Yeah.
Christopher Bell started 15th. He brought it home in 6th. Noah Gragson, who won the Daytona 300 last year, led 16 laps, started 2nd, finished 7th. Mike Snyder, who started 23rd, had a great outing in that same race that Noah Gragson won last year. Remember that? His debut. Mike Snyder brought it home in 8th. Harrison Burton in 9th place, started in 5th. And Riley Herbst, who led 9 laps, started 6th, brought his Ford into the top 10. Sam Mayer led 1 lap. He started 22nd, finished 12th. And give a call to Blaine Perkins. 23rd place. He picked up his career best finish in the series. Blaine started 29th. For this series, we still have 3 more races left until the playoffs. The Darlington 200, which will be this weekend for round 24 of 33. I'll lay out the podcast or for the standings in playoff format for the podcast next week when we get close to the end of the regular season. But we do have a new points leader, and AJ Allmendinger took advantage of Austin Cindric's early retirement to get 925 points compared to Austin Cindric's 908 points. Justin Allgaier with 800 points flat in 3rd. It looks like he's out of the regular season hunt for the regular season championship. Daniel Hemrick in 4th, but he's got some catching up to do to get back to 3rd. 779 points. 755 points is Burton's Hemrick's teammate Harrison Burton. Justin Haley 6th in the standings with 742 points. Jeb Burton in 7th with 716 points. Noah Gragson in 8th with 713 points. Brandon Jones in 9th with 567 points. And in 10th is Jeremy Clements with 558 points. I feel like this Xfinity race went pretty quick according to plan. But who lost big in the points? Brandon Jones. Because Brandon Jones finished last. Never had a chance to race for a win after that engine failure. Ready to talk some F1?
Okay. Yeah.
This is probably why everybody's here, anyways. So let's just get to the grid of it. Well, Max Verstappen wins another Grand Prix. That was hard fought, wasn't it? He really put a good race together after 1 lap behind the safety car. Yeah, I'm just being sarcastic. That was the Belgian Grand Prix for you. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know that the Belgian Grand Prix lasted literally 1 lap behind the safety car before the field was pulled back in because we cannot race under these conditions at all. And Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps is just one track that you have to have the conditions right, and you cannot play around with the safety of these drivers. It's not the place to take risks. We already seen risks being taken in the past here. We have seen drivers lose their lives. I mean, that's just part of racing, but like for Spa, it's been like that for years. Of course, leading up to the event. The Antoine Hubert situation is still fresh on everybody's minds, including mine. The Jack Aiken crash from last month in the 24-hour race. That's still in my mind.
Yeah.
And then what were we greeted to on Friday? W Series qualifying.
Oh.
We see Binsky Visser's car flying into the barriers up Rouge, followed by a good 5 or 6 other cars with hardly any control in the crash. So Belen Garcia and others taking hard impacts against that barrier. A barrier that is so fast, a set of corners that are absolutely high in speed, and you must be committed to go up Rouge into Rodillion.
Yeah.
Now explain to me, because we had a Formula 3 race, Justin.
Yeah.
It's a pretty serious crash too.
Yeah.
Was Formula One, the FIA, and everybody involved in this call, did they make the right decision or did they not make the right decision?
Like during the main part of this issue was, remember in Q3? Remember Q3 started raining heavy? Remember what some of the drivers like Sebastian Vettel said? They told they should red flag the session before. Like when Vettel came up pit road, he said they got to red flag the session. And then a few seconds later, you just see Lando Norris crashing up there. There was too much water on the track. And right before in F2 race 2. F3 race 2, we had a crash there too with Amari Cordial, and Callan Williams crashed over there. Yeah. Like they should have red flagged the session earlier before that, because there was too much water for a part of Q3, remember? And yeah, Q3 when Lando crashed, there was so much water on the track. It was so treacherous out there, which led to that accident.
You know, I think what went wrong with Lando Norris's crash was that you know, everybody expects the drivers in Q3 to just go up the barrier, to not go up the barriers, but to go up the racing line, not have a problem. But this car ended up flying into the barriers at a high rate of speed, and the way it tagged the wall was honestly pretty scary for what I can recall.
Yeah.
Why is it worth it? Is a Rouge going to be worth it after so long? I mean, I know how much people are going to love that corner, but we have seen ways in the past where a Rouge was changed. Those first corners were designed differently, I believe. Excuse me, I believe it was in '94, after the tragic death of Ayrton Senna, when they changed the chicane to really slow the cars down even more so than they ever needed to at Upper Rouge, going into the Rodillion portion at a much slower rate of speed.
Yeah.
Is that what we need to do? I'm going to say real quick, no. And to that, I would explain this corner has been part of the racing scene for years. And I'm not one that wants to say, you know, that we have to move on from historical backgrounds, historical relevancies, all that stuff. But I would definitely make my point across and say that if we're prioritizing the safety of drivers, why don't we look at the common denominator of these serious accidents that have been happening at Spa during these race weekends? And where in Spa-Francorchamps have those serious accidents been taking place? You just mentioned the whole portion of the track this entire time, going up a Rouge into Rodillion.
Yeah, that part. But it's not even just the conditions. It's happened in the dry conditions. You can lose it fast, even when it's dry. So it's just, there's many things that we can that they can do, like a gravel trap to prevent them from going into the barrier over there. Like hitting that barrier We've seen cars hit that barrier, not on the left, on the right side. That barrier, we've seen so many cars hit that when they lost it. They can't slow down because it's just
That's a
pavement.
high speed. It's usually a high speed place for a crash.
Yeah,
You get a lot of high G's there too. I mean, I'm not the one whose body's in a race car when I drive them. The most I can relate to is my sim.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, these are the drivers we got to worry about. If this was the right decision, why is it? And I still hold to the agreement that, believe it or not, the FIA, in my humble opinion, made the best possible decision that they could have made this whole time. And I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but that was almost the only way that they could have solved this Grand Prix, by at least adding some closure to it, giving the drivers who did their best on Saturday a chance to race on Sunday and a chance for them to get some points to it. But my counter argument is that we can't undo the weekend of 70,000 people that waited not 1, but 2 years because of this pandemic to go see the Belgian Grand Prix in person. Standing in the cold rain. That's what you do to sacrifice yourself to watch a great F1 race. But you know what? This is going to be one of those rules that no one's comfortable talking about in terms of revision. That might just have to be revised. Because now we face something we haven't faced in so long. In fact, this Grand Prix was so short. It beat the record for the shortest Formula One race ever, beating the 1991 Australian Grand Prix. And how long was that race?
That was 24 minutes. This race,
racing.
Yeah, this race was 3 minutes 57 seconds. Not even 4 minutes long. So, and what's funny about that long distance of 1 lap under. That is even shorter than a 3-lap race on F1 2021. Yeah. So that's how short that race was. 1 lap. Nikita Mazepin got the fastest lap out of that. And that's all you saw, basically, because, like Max said, if you were leading, like Max said, the visibility wasn't bad. Everyone else couldn't see. The spray was so much you can barely see. Like, remember on some of the camera shots, Joseph, we didn't even know which Ferrari it was. We couldn't tell which car was which.
I remember that because actually, Justin, you and I, we were on that Skype call. Yesterday in the morning. I had to rush to get up for it because I missed my alarm at 7. I woke up at 8. But it's just something that's a 1 in a million chance, honestly, ever, that something like this is going to happen in Grand Prix weekend. But now we have to learn from this, and it's going to be fresh in our minds for a long time until maybe some different rule is made. Whatever the case may be, here we are in a piece of reality we didn't want to be in, and we just got to live with it.
Yeah, because we know the rain was in the forecast. We did not expect this big rain cell. We expected some rain, but not that bad that you couldn't see.
That was the big problem. It's visibility.
Yeah, and this track is huge. This track is 4.3 miles. It's a long track, so it could be better in one part, and then the other part is all bad, worse visibility. That's the problem with bigger tracks. It's long. Some parts can be good and some parts can be worse.
All right, so my next take is I want to compare this Grand Prix to some other races that did happen that were part of the Grand Prix schedule that are a piece of history. I'm going to look at the race at Spa 20 years ago. the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix. Let's look at it right now. I mean, I can't play it because obviously YouTube will balk me in the head by that. So I'm just gonna look at it right now and explain word for word of what could have happened again if there was nothing that was done to it. And mind you, this race had a standing start. The visibility was very low already, and it seemed like everyone behind the leader just could not see a thing. So they go through the first turn, which is a hairpin, which I still question why they use that as the initial starting point of the race. That's not what they do in the 24-hour race, and that's a smart move. And then you see car hit the barrier and swing across the track, and everybody just piles into each other. You see tires and pieces flying. Tires literally flying around like frisbees. And this, of course, was way before the Halo days. All it took was the wrong time for a tire to hit someone in the cockpit area. I just want to be real. This is why, every time people try to complain about, oh, the Halo looks ugly. I would tell you to just take a look and observe what could have happened in the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix on the opening lap. That there was a good 2 or 3 tires that were bouncing around of other cars, and all it takes is one car, one cockpit at the worst time possible. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I have to say that my humble opinion, and by someone who had watched the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix when it happened, that I'm so glad we didn't have this race. As much as Spa is one of my favorite tracks, I think it's my favorite track in the current World Championship calendar. Just on a personal note. It's either endanger the drivers, don't risk it all. And the FIA went with don't risk it at all. And I applaud them for that. It's unpopular. But no, a driver doesn't need to get hurt over something like this. And yes, F1 cars race in the rain. Just like Indy cars do. Just like even MotoGP does. The World Rally Cross. World Rally Championship, Rallycross, all that stuff. This is a rarity, and I wouldn't take it so personally as a lot of people are on Twitter, but then again, this is what social media does to you. Makes you think you have some kind of whining audience.
Yeah.
Oh, the Grand Prix didn't go. Woo-hoo. That's not fair. Yeah, well, I think it's fair. If you want me to be fair, it's fair. I'll say it's fair. It's because it's fair.
Yeah.
What I'm happy with the end goal here is that all 20 drivers left the facility on their feet with 2 hands.
Yeah.
And 2 arms. And I know it sounds extreme, but some actions need to be taken over there at Spa. I'm a little worrisome over the European Le Mans Series race. Remember Pietro Fittipaldi's crash he had in the WEC?
Yeah.
Ruled him out of his first Indy 500. Now, looking back at Pietro's crash, he hit that barrier head on.
Yeah.
Prototype.
Yeah. Broke both of his legs.
So, looking at the past track record, and of course Antoine Hubert, but I was going to say, it only made sense. But I want to go back to the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix real quick.
Yeah.
When Adrian Sutil had his spin.
Yeah.
At that same part of the track, you see, of course, the car is extracted out. And then that extraction vehicle went into its pit resting area.
Yeah.
Not pit resting area, the marshal resting zone.
Yeah.
And then here comes Jules Bianchi, out of control. No chance. He could not have ever. survived it. And it's so sad that Jules is gone because of it. But you know what? There was a lot of problems with that race in terms of officiating in Japan in 2014 that even I, to this day, have a hard time forgiving the FIA for.
Yeah.
The race should have been red flagged way, way longer ago. When Sutil had his crash, a safety car should have been called right away. And it was just, and maybe it was the right maneuver by the FIA to say, hey, we can't let these cars race. But for the teams, for the drivers, for the fans, everybody that wanted to see the race didn't get one.
Yeah.
But it's still classified. You still get your half points and your statistic numbers go one notch up.
But like also about going back about Belgium, even this track is kind of this track is going Eau Rouge and Rayon. The track is so tough up there.
You have to
Even
be committed.
dry conditions are even bad. Remember 2016 Belgian Grand Prix? Remember Kevin Magnussen crashed up there? Yeah, on lap 6 of the 2016 race.
And he tried to overcorrect it in a dry track. He had no chance. His
headrest actually fell off. It fell off in the impact.
And we were about 2 years shy of the Halo device.
Yeah, which came in 2018. His headrest flew off right as he hit the barrier, because that was his Renault was really destroyed in that crash. And yeah.
And maybe that was, after all, the best decision yet. And I hate it for all the fans that paid. Formula One Grand Prix are so expensive and hard to attend. There are no promises on whether you'll have another experience like this again in your life. Going to a Grand Prix, it's a lot different than going to an endurance race. It's a lot different than going to a NASCAR race, for sure. When you go to an IndyCar race, an endurance race, particularly the American endurance races like IMSA, you get access to the paddock for such low price. You get access passes to the garage. You could converse with teams and drivers. You can actually have some kind of involvement in the garage area. It's pretty cool, and you don't have to pay as much compared to even just sitting out in the grandstands for a Formula One Grand Prix. Of course, we're talking about a world championship stage here. You don't have any of that access. And if you did, to sit in some kind of representative room, you would have to pay thousands of dollars for the weekend. For having that much of an experience.
Okay, I found some tickets the silver grandstands.
I'd like to hear how much it costs.
Actually, okay, for children. Okay,
I want to hear for an adult, like you and I.
Okay. Over there, they use euros. They use euros, so it's 310 euros in US dollars, $365
for one person.
Yes, that's each. So basically, for me and you would be
about $600+.
Yeah,
maybe even 700.
Yeah, around 700.
I would have to say that
$731 for me and you. That's a lot.
This year, at limited capacity, 70,000. I know the place can pack more than 70,000.
Yeah.
On any given good year, but the worst part of it, the whole thing is that we can't undo it and make up for it.
No.
And even worse, looking back at last year's spot event, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix last year, we had no fans at all with COVID. Lucky that the race even happened. 2 years ago, the race weekend was really just marred by a horrifying tragedy from Formula 2 driver Antoine Hubert. He was killed on the Saturday of the Grand Prix weekend, and it just you cannot undo that. The feel of what happened after. It's just it was not a good vibe. So everybody was excited to get back.
Yeah.
Especially after the 2020 wait, not being able to go. And then we're greeted with this.
Yeah.
I just hate it for everybody. And if I worked at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, I would do I think, I would owe the fans their money back. These people go out of their way to go to attend a Grand Prix. A lot of people fly.
Yeah.
And they race because they don't have they don't have access to a Grand Prix in their area.
Yeah, so they got to pay for plane tickets, hotel. They got to pay 310 euros for the tickets at the track. Yeah, they got to pay for all that, which
by
costs.
The way, let's bring it to a more personal level. Now, Justin, of course, until next year, there are 2 Grand Prix, or maybe 3. I mean, if we really want to count Mexico City, which is very far from us, but there are usually 2 places for us that we could go to a Grand Prix in until next year.
Yeah.
We have Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix in the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yep.
Or the U.S. Grand Prix that's been around since 2012 at the Circuit of the Americas in Houston, Texas.
Yep.
And I actually done the math. The plane ride to Montreal is not that long as the plane ride to not Houston. Did I say Houston? I said Austin, Texas.
Yeah, Austin.
Yeah, I'm in the streets of Houston. They did host an IndyCar race back then, but point I'm trying to make is that you still got to get on the plane to go, and maybe not for you because you're probably not as far from Montreal than
I'm 12 hours away from a drive.
Would you take a car for that?
Well, 12 hours ain't bad. Like, I've driven to Boston, which is 8 hours from where I live. So it's not bad because I've actually, during my final year of middle school in 8th grade, I had a trip up there and we took a bus. Not a school bus, but like those tour buses.
A coach.
Yeah, coach bus, except ours broke. Air conditioning broke, and it was really hot.
Right, it's a fancy bus. It takes a lot out of the fuel to have everything running with AC and all that. It's like a plane on wheels, but I know what you're talking about. But like a 12-hour drive, like you see the point. You have to commit to going to a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Unless you're lucky enough to have a house somewhere in Stavelot, Belgium.
Yeah.
You have to really make the effort to go and commit your money to your itinerary. And I know there's a lot of fans that were let down. But it's just life. You just have to handle it. It sucks. But like I said, if I ran Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, I would compensate everybody with their money back, or they can use their ticket to go to the European Le Mans Series, 4 hours of Spa, which is in the middle of September. I think it's the 19th of September.
Yeah, that weekend,
That tells me, like, maybe give them some options. And and who knows? It's just a shame it had to go like this. And back to the point of me saying how, like, I would have to fly the same amount of hours on the plane to get to either Montreal or Austin to watch an F1 race until next year. Next year, I have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go 4 hours south from my house to watch the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah.
see how rare it is for F1 to do it. And I know for sure that race is happening because I've been in touch with my friends. One of them works at Hard Rock Stadium, which of course that's the site of the street circuit that's being built there. They already have parts of the street circuit up as we speak. People have to park a little bit differently to the Miami Dolphins games this year because of the street circuit being in progress. Built in progress.
Well, hopefully those fans don't get mad.
We did have to push a few bad apples aside to get the Grand Prix approved by Dade County, but
it's like that one person that was complaining about F1 in Nashville.
We're always going to get bitter people everywhere. It's just the way of life, happens.
It's like even like some of the F1 drivers, including Lewis Hamilton, said he felt bad for those fans. Like he even like they were standing in that rain for many hours to watch one lap behind the safety car.
They gave opportunities to get this race going. Like we had a few laps that didn't count behind the safety car. I'd say a good 20 minutes after the initial start time. If they brought everyone back to the pits. We gotta wait this out. And David Kropp kept saying we're hoping to see like a break in the weather.
Yeah.
Maybe to get some of the clouds out and to make the track somewhat bearable. It was not even bearable. Every time the cars went back on track behind the safety car queue, you could not see anything from the car in front.
Like, remember Leclerc was coming by? We couldn't tell that car until Leclerc popped up right.
I didn't even know it was a Ferrari until I saw it.
Until you saw 16.
Very close up front.
Yeah, right.
No, when you saw 16, you're right.
Yeah, Leclerc, because we couldn't see who that was. You couldn't tell from all the fog and the rain until you saw a big 16 appear on the screen. It's like, oh, that's Leclerc. Like, you couldn't see through that. I also noticed there was change in the results. Even though that nobody changed positions, Lance Stroll got a 10-second penalty for unapproved adjustments on the wing. So he is credited with last again instead of Perez.
Oh, okay.
I saw it today. Perez will finish 19th. Stroll will get demoted from 18th to 20th. That race was interesting. One lap. We were just almost falling asleep and waiting.
Yeah, let's just go through the results right now. I mean, what else is there to explain it other than the results? Max Verstappen, obviously, he led one lap. His 9th career pole, 16th career win, 51st career podium. I mean, it's hard even for Max to celebrate a win like that.
Yeah, second. He does
close in the World Drivers' Championship in a little bit, which we'll explain in a few.
Yeah.
But I think if there's a driver of the day, which I think I'd give it to everybody that tried to make this track livable. Like the drivers in the race. I would give it to, if I were to give it to the drivers in the race, I'd give it to George Russell.
Yep, he started second, finished second in a Williams.
His qualifying performances this year have been absolutely stellar, but I don't think anything could compare to how he drove that car. In Q3 on Saturday. The way that George Russell, he chopped out all the speed traps. Yeah.
He was close to get pole. He was provisional pole until Max, but he was ahead of Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes. He's in a Williams.
In a works Mercedes, mind you.
He's driving a Williams, and he got P2.
Sometimes I would say, like in 2019 when we had this podcast back when Armani hosted, that where you start is where you finish. Well, clearly where you start was where you finish in this one. Yeah, and George Russell should be proud.
Yeah,
he has to be proud. I don't care how weird or non-logistical of a race this was. But he did everything he needed to do to earn this second place effort, and it happened on Saturday. They call him Mr. Saturday for a reason.
Yeah,
this guy his first ever podium, puts Williams back on the podium for the first time since Lance Stroll did it at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2017.
Yeah, and it was the first time on the
you know
front row.
It could have been, first time since Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, Valtteri Bottas on the front row.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
He could have been the first Williams winner since
Pastor
Maldonado at Spain in 2012.
If he got the
if he started on pole, it would have been his. It was just a few tenths away from that.
Yeah, he really did good in a Williams. Like, we were all shocked.
He outperformed the Williams. I think even more so than he ever outperformed the one secure Grand Prix he did in the Mercedes, the works Mercedes.
But also, like, Williams, not just Russell, but also Latifi was decent too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
it's a Q3, mind you.
Yeah, like I don't know what Williams. They must have got some upgrades or something. Like, that car is better than what. Remember 2 seasons ago, this would not happen. Williams. No, 2 seasons ago, Williams
even last year,
struggling.
George Russell could not, for the life of him, get a points position in this car.
Yeah, like Williams now, they've improved their car. The car is just more better.
But we are still yet to talk about who's driving the car for next year. There's a lot of free agency discussions that are on the way, and that's for another podcast. Let's continue on here. Lewis Hamilton's 174th career podium, place. Still leads the world championship, but the gap has closed a little bit. 4th place went to, how about Danny Ricciardo? Probably his best run yet. Started in the 4th spot. Sebastian Vettel for Aston Martin. Starting to finish 5th. Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. We don't know too much about AlphaTauri next year. 7th place went to Esteban Ocon. 8th place, Charles Leclerc. 9th place went to Nicholas Latifi. Double points for Williams. 10th place goes to Carlos Sainz Jr. Started 11th. Double points for Ferrari. So 2 constructors get the double points in the last 2 spots, which unfortunately, with the half-point situation, you're not going to really gain too much. But a point, points are points, no matter how you get them. 11th place, Fernando Alonso's. 12th place, obviously, Valtteri Bottas. No use for any help for the guys outside the points, unfortunately. Alonso, Bottas, Giovinazzi, 13th. Lando Norris, 14th. Boy, we're going to talk about Lando in a minute here. 15th, Yuki Tsunoda. Mick Schumacher, 16th. Nikita Mazepin, 17th. There's no fastest lap. But Lance Stroll, I guess, got demoted. That gives Kimi Räikkönen 18th. Perez, 19th. Unfortunately, if it weren't for his problems, he might have had a points run. And Lance Stroll has been put all the way down to 20th with a time penalty.
10-second penalty for changing something on the rear wing under the red flag. I don't know what they were doing.
You're allowed to change certain things under the red flag, but other things you're not allowed to change.
Yeah, that's what they did. They changed the rear, something on the reir wing.
Because you know what? There was a dispute whether or not the race actually started at that point.
Yeah, but
then they said, "Hey, the race already did."
But Nikita Mazepin, there was no fast lap, but he got the flat. Remember on the timing screen, Joseph, on the ticker, it said Mazepin. Me and Joseph were like, what? We were just confused, and somebody said tuning on to the TV, seeing Russell on the podium, and then it shows DHL fastest lap, Nikita Mazepin.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was just a weird weekend. Practice 1 and 2 were more normal. Practice 3 was raining. Qualifying, we're waiting a bit. The race was just the waiting game. Yeah.
It was unfortunate, to say the least. Well, let's talk about the World Championship standings. Now, the World Drivers' Championship, of course, we're now 12 races through. We have a 3-week stretch. Obviously, it started with the Belgian Grand Prix. Then we go to the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort. And then the Italian Grand Prix in Monza.
Yeah.
So, now explaining this situation here. How, these points work. So, obviously, how half points work, I'll just say real quick, obviously the first half points race since Malaysia 2009, and of course the record-breaking of shortest Grand Prix ever, breaking the record of previously held the 1991 Australian Grand Prix some 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So how does half points work? Well, if the race rules, according to the FIA Sporting Code, you must complete the leader must complete 75% of the original race distance, or the race distance in relation to the original race length, the scheduled race length, to be
Yeah.
considered a full race for full race winnings.
Yeah.
Of course, if you do not get 75% of the race winnings, everybody earns half points, meaning you earn half of the amount of points that you would have earned for the position you finished in. So it's the number of points you would receive divided by 2. That's what you get for the race.
Yeah, so basically Max received, because he finished first, he usually received 25 points. You do divided 2, it's 12 and a half. Then you go down to Russell would have 9 instead of 18. Lewis at 7.5, 6 for Ricardo, because 12 divided 2 is 6. Like, you go all the way to 10th place, 1 point, you get half a point, 0.5. 9th place, 1 point instead of 2. It's basically, that's what it is.
Right, it's everything over 2. Let's continue on in the championship standings, World Championship standings. So it's a 3-point difference. Lewis Hamilton, 202.5 points. Max Verstappen, 199.5 points. A 3-point difference. It's very close again.
Yeah.
And you know what? Max Verstappen might just have that momentum going into Zandvoort with the home crowd. Actual home crowd this time. Lando Norris sits at 113 points. He scored no points for the second week in a row. Of course, that's also his second only non-points occasion of the entire World Championship this year. That just shows you how great of a driver he is. 4th place, Valtteri Bottas. No points for the third race in a row, or for the second race in a row for Bottas. Sits at 108. 5th place, Sergio Perez. No points for Perez either. It seems like a lot of the guys in the top 5, and 3 out of the entire top 5 in the World Championship did not gain any World Championship points at all in yesterday's so-called race.
Yeah.
Perez greater than 19th. He's got 104 still.
Yeah.
But then you go down to 5th. Half a point was given to Carlos Sainz. He sits at 83.5 points. 7th place, Charles Leclerc, 82 points. So, hey, we get to see Sainz in front of Leclerc in terms of the Ferrari drivers in the standings by 1.5 points. It's not pretty. That's actually something not a lot of people are talking about. 8th place, Daniel Ricciardo. He gained some points for this event. He sits at 56 right now. 9th and 10th place, we get the 2 French drivers from the 2 different teams. Pierre Gasly from AlphaTauri at 54 points, and Esteban Ocon, who won 2 races ago at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He sits at 42 points. Now, let's go ahead and look at the World Constructors Championship. While it's a little bit different in the closeness to the competition, it's still pretty relevant to take a look at how everything panned out the way it did. Mercedes right now, they have a 7-point lead over Red Bull Racing Honda. 310.5 points for Mercedes and 303.5 points for Red Bull Racing Honda. 3rd place, McLaren Mercedes, 169 points. 4th place, Ferrari, 165.5 points. Alpine Renault, 80 points. AlphaTauri Honda, 72 points. In 7th place, Aston Martin Mercedes, 53 points. How about Williams Mercedes with 20 points?
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo Racing Ferrari sits at 3 points, and Haas Ferrari at 0 points. They're the only constructor left not to score points.
Yeah. Nobody expected to see Williams with 20 points this season.
Oh, for sure.
But still impressive. Williams, they got points. Haas, they don't got points. They're just the bottom of the barrel.
You know what? I think that when you're doing qualifying, maybe it just shows, it's just another reminder why qualifying good is so important.
Well,
in these Grand Prix weekends.
Well, we know that Haas will not make it to Q3.
I didn't say that Haas needed to be an example to that. I was saying,
Oh, well, Josh Rebel said the car is like a cow on ice.
I forgot about that saying. Thanks for
yeah, yeah,
Josh doing
yep.
his best, making funniest jokes possible.
Yeah, that car is just not a good car, but yeah. So the only team without points is them, but Alfa Romeo just 3 points. Yeah, they're not doing the best either. Only 2 from Raikkonen, 1 from Giovinazzi. Right now, there's 20 points from Williams. Williams have
race.
Yeah, they have Russell has 13, Latifi has 7. They still have points.
And
like
almost 2.5 years ago, they scored 1 point.
Yeah.
I have a technicality from where Kubica's credited 10th place finish at the German Grand Prix. So just take it as you will. That's how incredible.
Yeah.
Williams has turned things around, and
Yeah, and
we
last
got
year
some new faces that are going to join that team next year, and we don't know what that's going to mean because the worst kept secret, like we are going to talk about in supercars, is going to apply to the top team in Formula One as well. Now let's move on and talk about the other series because I want to hold off on the F1 discussion for our race previews when we go into our Dutch Grand Prix discussion because we did have an event that supported this race. We do cover the W Series, the start of the second half of the season, and it's been all the British drivers, or just I say 2 of them, reigning champion Jamie Chadwick and Alice Powell. I almost said Jamie Whincup.
I was about to say Jamie Whincup races
series.
Yeah, I was about to say
Emma Kivilainen. How about this 32-year-old Emma Kivilainen from Finland stole the show at Spa-Francorchamps and just really pulled a great upset over Jamie Chadwick. Chadwick, I thought, was going to pull away with another easy win. No, here comes Emma Kivilainen in the Curie W team. Beating out the Veloz Racing
by
of Jamie Chadwick. And what was the margin again? Was it 15 seconds?
It was. Let me check because I remember.
Seconds. I don't think it was 18. That would have been too big.
I think it was 8. Let me check. It was interesting that
Chadwick had like a good 7-second lead over Kivilainen.
And
no, it was Alice Powell.
Yeah, and then
Kivilainen came around from like 3rd.
Where's
it's on the W Series website?
I actually calculated the margins between, and for it was 8.4 seconds.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I calculated that. Yeah, 8.4 seconds.
She also picked up the fastest lap. Now, let's talk about the points paying positions. Now, mind you, the fastest lap and the pole position points do not get you bonus points in this series. It's just where you finish. So Jamie Chadwick did get the pole. Remember, the race starts the second half of the year. How about Marta Garcia?
Yep.
She had a very fast car in the rain. Brought it home 3rd in a podium position. Alice Powell in 4th. 5th place went to Caitlin Wood in a 5th place effort. He also did a pretty decent job. 6th place went to Jess Hawkins. Fabian Volwind in 7th. Naria Marti 8th. Miki Koyama in the 9th spot, and Abby Eaton rounded out the points paying position to get that final point in 10th. Yeah,
there's only 16 that were in instead of 18. There was a reason.
We did discuss, if you want to know why that situation happened, we're not gonna discuss too much about it right now, but look earlier in the video when we talked about the situation about the calling off of the Formula One Grand Prix at Belgium. And you'll hear us discuss about the W Series crash that happened in qualifying on Friday. That took a lot of drivers out of the race, and it was a serious crash. Mind you, that happened in pretty good conditions for normal track conditions.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they all slid, and Yeah, Ayla, Agron, and Beskay Visser were transported to the hospital after. Visser stayed longer than
Yeah.
Agron, so there was only 16 instead of the 18 entries, but it was bad. Like, yeah, yeah, that's why there was only 16 cars in the event.
All right, let's take a look at the championship standings. So let's look at the top 5 in the championship, and that has changed, fluctuated a little bit. Jamie Chadwick at 91 points, still sits at the top of the board. Alice Powell in second with 84 points. Emma Kivilainen hops up to third with 60 points. It's a big gain in one race. Fourth place, Maria Marti, 41 points, and Fabian Volwind with 40 points in fifth. They will be back this weekend as part of the Dutch Grand Prix race weekend for the Zandvoort round 6 of 8. And yeah, let's go back to stock cars now. We got a few discussions to talk about. We have 3 series to cover. That involves 2 races. We'll start off with the ARCA Menard Series and the ARCA Menard Series East penultimate race for the East Series. So we got some ways to go in the National Tour.
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs, what do I say? This is his 3rd perfect race. He led every single lap, as if winning isn't hard enough, which it is. He won by leading all 150 laps in the Milwaukee 150 at the famed Milwaukee Mile, one of the oldest tracks in the world.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll see an IndyCar come back one day. It's a classic track. Sam Mayer brought home in second, Daniel Dye in third, Taylor Gray fourth, and Sammy Smith rounded out the top 5. Now, we're going to look at the championship and the ARCA Menard standings of the National Tour. 11 points separate Ty Gibbs from Corey Heim. Now, Heim's in a little bit of a deficit. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, better than 3rd place.
Tad Moffitt, of course, these guys are out of the championship mathematically pretty much by now. 646 points. But Nick Sanchez could get a run at Tad Moffitt. Race is 625 for Sanchez. Brad Smith at 489 points remains at 5th. Now, in the East Series Championship, Sammy Smith was not able to hoist the trophy at the end of yesterday's race. He was close, but with Mason Diaz's misfortunes, however, there was Daniel Dye, who finished 3rd in the race.
Ooh.
A 24-point difference between Sammy Smith and Daniel Dye going into the final race. So we have Joe Gibbs Racing versus GMS Racing, Toyota versus Chevrolet.
Yep.
Mason Diaz in 3rd with 310 points. He really took a blow in this race. 4th place, Joey East, 305 points, and Max Gutierrez, 303 points. I'll give you a very fun fact. Every single winner, except for Max Gutierrez in the East Series race, drove a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry to victory lane.
That's true.
Sammy Smith and or Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
If he almost won that race in New Smyrna Beach, though. I mean,
Sammy Smith. Yeah, he was close.
Because Max Gutierrez passed everybody in 3-1 in the last turn.
Yeah, because Taylor Gray and Sammy Smith made contact, and then you just see at the line, you didn't
even notice Max Gutierrez was there until he was there. It was almost a perfect run for Joe Gibbs Racing in the East Series. But Sammy Smith will have to wait till Bristol to clinch it out. He wasn't able to do it in this race. So for the main ARCA Series, though, we do have our second and final trip to the dirt track at DuQuoin for 100 miles on this weekend, Sunday, around 17 to 20. And then our next East Series race will be at Bristol Motor Speedway, the Bristol 200, part of the main ARCA Tour, round 8 of 8, and we'll get our champion crowned over there for the East Series.
You're talking about that finish at New Smyrna. I still have the photo on my phone from. You just see how close it was. Sammy Smith got 2nd, Taylor Gray 3rd. You just see.
Incredible.
I remember when I saw the photo, I heard about the race because I didn't have Track Pass back then. I checked. I found a photo of it. I'm like, oh, that was close. So
it was insane. And what? Put some good racing together.
Yeah, and I remember yesterday, it was so close for Daniel Dada try to pass at Sam Mayer at the end, but Sam Mayer got second for Brett Holmes' team.
Right, Daniel Dye was going for every point possible.
But it's going to be interesting at Bristol.
And we might have a high car count, too, because it's part of the main series and part of the Cup Series weekend. We don't know how many people are going to show up there.
Last year, there was 28. Last year.
That's a pretty high number considering the majority of the ARCA races. So.
Yeah. Compared to some where we had 14.
Right. I don't think that's going to be the case.
No.
We might have, like I said, it's part of the Cup Series race weekend, and it's part of the main ARCA series. We're going to get a lot of people showing up. So. You better get ready for Bristol. That's one thing for sure. Let's move on and talk about the race that happened up north. In the NASCAR Pinty Series, the Laford Andier 75 at Circuit Icar in Marable, Quebec.
Yep.
And it was an all Quebec, all Dodge podium.
Yep.
Kevin Lacroix dominated this race. He led 73 of the 83 lap race distance, driving for his family-owned team.
Yep.
Started second, finished first. Started first, finished second, and the racing Dodge was Andrew Ranger, who led 10 laps in the race. And the gap was about just over a second at the end. But it was a interesting race. It's a very quick road course track too.
40 some second lap. There was cars getting lapped, but there was 2 overtimes. That way it was extended from 75 to 83 laps. It was interesting. I was watching it on my computer.
Yep.
Yeah, it was interesting.
LP Dumoulin finished in third. Fourth place went to Alex Tagliani, and fifth place went to Alex Winnett. 4 out of the 5 in the top 5 were Dodges, except for the Chevrolet of Tagliani. So it looks like we've finally found the end of the Chevrolet streak. 4 races in, and so I mean it's going to be interesting. We'll have the better.
I just realized
outing. We don't know. In the road courses, I think they might have a say just as much as the short tracks will. Yeah, because that's how the Pinty series works. It's a very interesting mixture of road courses and short tracks, these V6 engines.
Like I just realized also, it was not just an all-Quebec podium, top 5, because Tagliani's from Quebec and Alex Guinette's from Quebec. The highest non-person from Quebec was Kennington, who's from Ontario. He got 6. So, yeah, it was really interesting at that track and also if people didn't hear that the Autodrome Chaudière round is postponed, don't know the date yet. They didn't announce a new date.
Sometime in September, we should be getting that.
Right? Yeah, it's because they want to make sure that they have time to travel to CTMP, which is September 4th and 5th.
That's in the Greater Toronto area.
But the points is interesting.
Yes, let's talk about the championship points real quick. Alex Tagliani still holds on to the championship lead. He is 3 out of 4 in the top 5s. That says a lot. No one is perfect in terms of the amount of top 5s this year, which might mean something in this championship hunt. He's got 164 points. LP Dumoulin hops up to second. He's 160 points in the bag, -4. Kevin Lacroix is up to third, -7 with 157 points. DJ Kennington in fourth, the veteran, longtime veteran in the series, at 145 points, -19, as is Trayton Lapsevich, 145 points for him, -19.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun to watch. 2 races at Motorsport this weekend. That's a classic track.
Yeah, they got a 30-lap event on Saturday, and then the main event, 50-some laps, 200 kilometers, and they got a 30-mile race on Saturday. The Optimal 30 on Saturday, and Sunday they got the Clarington 200.
Right, and of course, this was supposed to be the Truck Series race weekend there. So
Yeah.
the Pinty Series got to have 2 races there.
Yep.
It's gonna be a fun showing.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
I've seen some races here in the Penny Series. They produce interesting races here.
They put some of the best shows out on road
Oof,
courses.
like Penny Series. I've seen them like race at different tracks, and people say, "Oh, it's just a lower series," but it's interesting.
Not a lower series at all. This is,
like,
I mean, let's go back to the NASCAR days. They
yeah.
had some of the most devoted racers out there.
Yeah.
That really wanted to show how proud Canada is
Like,
a great place for stock car racing too.
Like,
I like their little population.
Like you got like some drivers.
Dodge
like,
is invested in this too.
Yeah, you got.
A lot of people say, "Oh, when's Dodge coming back to NASCAR?" We always get the question, right? I'm like, "Hey, they still have some involvement. Just go look up north."
Yeah, the Penny Series has a few Fords, some Chevys,
Dodge is usually the best manufacturer in the series too.
Yeah, you got many teams like Rick Ware Racing has Dodge's, Lacroix team, DJ Kennington. Yeah, you got all these teams with Dodges, which Dodge is a good manufacturer up there.
Pretty much based off Windsor, Ontario. I'm sure they produce a lot. I mean, Windsor, Detroit, of course, they produce all kinds of cars, but they have a big Chrysler investment over there. Maybe that's the case.
But still, the Penny Series, it's always interesting. You have many different owners.
A lot of owner driver presence there too. That's one thing I've learned about watching the races up in the Penny Series.
Like DJ Kennington, he owns his own team. You got also another.
He's been racing in NASCAR before I was even born.
Yeah, you got Scott Steckley, who owns his team. He used to drive. Yeah, he drove his number 22 car, now driven by Marc-Antoine Cameron. So
That's not a driver either. I've seen him up there.
Yeah, like the Benny Series, it's always interesting to see when they're on track. It's always produced interesting racing and close point finishes.
Oh yeah, they go down to the end. And I know Kevin Lacroix, he's finished second 3 times in the Pinty Series in his career. I'm sure he's knocking on that door to get a championship, and a lot of people are pulling for him. And back before Toyota entered NASCAR, when I was a little kid, I was like the Dodge team, so I'm cool pulling for a Dodge over there.
Lacroix's been knocking on for a championship.
He's been longing for it. And 2020 was supposed to be that year. Just of course that didn't pan out, but this might be his best chance. 2019. Oh, I remember.
He
crashed. Had that bad race in New Hampshire, and that took him out of the hunt.
Yeah, that gave Andrew Ranger the bigger point lead. Yeah, he's been close so many times. But next race is next on September 4th and 5th, which is this weekend at CTMP.
We know how those races pan out. That's all I'm going to say. So if you don't watch the Pinty Series too much, you might want to watch those races too, especially for the Truck Series drivers that are in Darlington. They might be having a laptop in their trailer watching what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Because next year, of course.
Yeah.
It'll be them racing on Sunday, not the Pinty Series again. But let's move on to one more series. We're going to go from 4 wheels to 2 and discuss what happened at the British Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo made this race easy for me to report. I'll just say it like that. I mean, he's knocking on the door for that first world championship for the 2nd year in a row. And he's got his best chance yet. Need I say more? Fabio Quartararo. Get used to that name. The Yamaha rider has been relentlessly talented this year. Fastest lap. Paul Espargaro, pole position. But Quartararo from starting 3rd on the grid in 20 laps, top of the podium. How about Alex Rins in 2nd for Suzuki? And give a call to Aprilia's Alex Espargaro. Alex Espargaro, I mean, the older brother of Paul Espargaro has been around. He's got 2 podiums. He's been racing in MotoGP since 2009. Knocking on the door for a first win. And he's in Aprilia, the weakest constructor of this season. And guess what? While they've been championship caliber in the past, the Gresini team hasn't been too good as far as I'm concerned. And it shows when you can outperform your equipment, you're going to get a lot of respect in the garage area, in the paddock. And that's what Espargaro got. Jack Miller in fourth. Another consistent run by Jack Miller in the Ducati. Paul Espargaro, the pole sitter. How about Paul Espargaro, the younger brother? Both Espargaro should be proud of one another. Paul's still knocking on the door for that first MotoGP win. He's got 6 podiums already. And as for Paul Espargaro, let's just call him Pole Espargaro because that's his third career pole. Let's go down the list. Brad Binder, 6th. Akira Licciona, 7th. Alex Marquez, 8th. Joan Mir, 9th. Daniele Petrucci, 10th. Joan Zarco, 11th. Enya Bastianini, 12th. Takaki Nakagami, 13th. Francesco Bagnaia and Luca Marini picked up the final point in 15th. Tough break for Miguel Oliveira. And, of course, Valentino Rossi in his last race in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone brought home his Yamaha in the 18th position. Cal Crutchlow, another veteran who rides for Yamaha, who looks like he might be heading on out as well. Another hometown favorite. He brought his bike home in the 17th spot. No points either. And, of course, we know Crutchlow's been in there for some time. 3 wins in his career. That has been 10 years in length. So let's take a look at the World Championship standings now that we have been 12 races through. Fabio Quartararo has 206 World Championship points. Joan Mir has 141 points. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
Third place, Joan Zarco, 137 points. Paco Bagnaia in fourth with 136 points. And fifth place, Jack Miller, 118 points. So, yeah, we have Yamaha, Suzuki, Ducati. That's your top 5. And, of course, that represents 4 different teams. Monster Energy, Yamaha, MotoGP, Team Suzuki X-Star, Pramac Racing, Ducati Lenovo team. So, yeah. Constructor standings. Now, this is pretty close, Justin. We got Yamaha at 234 points, while Ducati is at 225 points. That's a 9-point difference. KTM is very far out of touch, though. It's not that far back. 162 points. You got some work to do. Suzuki can catch up to third. They're at 158 points. Honda is kind of in a boat of their own at 115 points, and Aprilia, same could be said for them. 84 points, getting closer and closer to triple digits. Now in the team standings, it's almost one-sided here, just like the Riders' Championship. Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP, 301 points. Ducati Lenovo team, 254 points. Pramac Racing, another Ducati team, and Team Suzuki X-Star are tied for third and fourth with 205 championship points. Fifth place is Red Bull KTM Factory Racing with 193 points. So there you have it. And now these guys get another week off. And I think, if your name is Paco Bagnaia, you can definitely use one. They'll be at the Aragon Grand Prix for round 13 of 18 on the 12th of September. So mark the date. All right. Now we get to talk about the races that are coming up. Our next batch of events. And yes, if you hear that, it is raining. Just like it was in Spa yesterday. Literally, Spa was a spa.
Yeah,
literally. It literally was like a. I know I made that joke before. Kind of a darker tone, of course, because they had that mudslide.
Well, Joseph, you're talking about Andretti and Grosjean. Do you want to know what most likely ride he's going to take over? That most likely
28.
Yeah, that's main. Yeah, they think that he's going to replace Ryan Hunter-Reay, that's possible.
We knew that Ryan Hunter-Reay is likely on his way out. We'll talk about that in a
Yeah,
bit, maybe on another podcast, but that's something new.
But yeah,
before we go into our NASCAR discussion, let's also give a huge shout out to our friend Raja Karuth. He is going to Xfinity Series racing next year for a team that is going under some big reconfigurations. Under the ownership of Tommy Joe Martins and new co-owner Cesar Baccarella starting next year.
Yeah.
Alpha Prime Motorsports.
Yep, Alpha Prime Motorsports.
Alpha Prime Racing.
Yeah, racing with the number 44.
Raja Karuth.
Yep.
Cesar Baccarella and
Tommy Joe Martins.
Cesar Baccarella is from Parkland, Florida. He's a huge figure, a champion in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting relief in terms of donations and all that. I always owe him a lot of credit for what he's done in the community during that week, which was, of course, he ran in that Xfinity Series race before the 2018 Daytona 500 when that whole thing happened that week, that year. But I'm glad to see him become an owner. He went from being a gentleman driver, just trying to have some kind of NASCAR career for himself in a high level, to now being an owner of a team. He gets to work with Tommy Joe Martins, who has been developing very well as an owner driver. And now we get to see Raja Karuth, someone who I've been friends with. I used to play on the PS3 with the guy. He's absolutely
he's going to run 3 races. Like
3 races. And I know we got what? Yeah. Is he running Darlington?
I don't know what races. I know he's running 3. And Martins is running a few. Most of the races will be run by Cesar Baccarella. Really? Martins is running a few. Martins is scaling back, but because he wants to focus on the team, but they're going to use the 44, Tommy Joe's number, because that number is not taken.
That's his team, basically. It's morphing into that new team.
His current team, Martins Motorsports, which is owned by him and his father, Craig. But it's going to be interesting seeing that next year. People are just criticizing Baccarella because his crash.
Let's get into one more news source. And I think this is absolutely awesome. Brock Feeney has been announced to replace 7-time Australian Supercars champion Jamie Whincup starting next year. He will take over Whincup's ride in either the Holland ZP Commodore or the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, depending on the specs, because they're saying that the next generation car should be coming out either at the start of the season or midway through the season. And, seeing the current season already under pause again because of COVID, that may hold up this year. Could probably hold up the process of the new car. We'll have to see. And, of course, we know that supercars might be cornered a little bit because Chevrolet, Holden's no longer an active manufacturer anymore. And, the factory-backed teams from GM want to get to Chevrolet soon. So there's going to be some negotiating going on. But regardless, what we do know is that we got Brock Feeney, who is a Super 2 driver, who's been under the AAA banner for quite some time, as well as Angelo Mizarek.
I just saw, Brock Feeney. He's currently leading the Super 2 points.
Yep, he is.
Yeah, so, Brock Feeney.
Got some big shoes to fill.
Yep, he's going to be teaming up with Shane Van Gisbergen, who's he's been good this season.
He's been in a world of his own.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting seeing that next season in 2022. But going to Darlington this weekend for the Southern 500. There's no throwbacks. They ran the throwbacks in the race in May. The reason the teams say they want to focus on their playoffs, not on a paid scheme, which makes sense. You focus on your playoffs to try to get a championship, which makes sense.
It's absolutely interesting. And the future is bright. That's what I'm going to say for AAA. They know how to dot the I's across. Jason Jamie Cup, he's going to stay as a role in the team for a management position. So it's not like he's going away. Maybe he'll run Bathurst more with Craig Lowndes. I'd love to see that continue. Hey, after all, Brock Feeney's going to run the Bathurst 1000 with Greg Murphy, of all people, 4-time Bathurst 1000 champion.
Yeah.
Murphy's coming back. He's 57. Good for him.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and discuss what we got. We have all 3 NASCAR series. We have the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs beginning the 72nd annual Southern 500. And we're going to kick that off right now. So let's talk about the history of this special race. First race. See, this was the race that NASCAR wanted to pick to emulate a 500-mile stock car race for themselves. While the Indianapolis 500 has been a fixture by this time, NASCAR's in their second year. Darlington was built. Let's have a 500-mile race here. We'll start just like the Indy 500, 3 wide of the line, have as many cars as you want. No, none of that D&Q stuff like the Indy 500 did. And the winner was Johnny Mance in 1950.
Yeah.
In a Plymouth, mind you. Last year, Kevin Harvick picked up the win. Now, who has the most wins in the Southern 500? Well, Jeff Gordon owned this event. 6 times he won this race. Cale Yarborough, 5 times the winner. Bobby Allison, 4 times the winner. And then Herb Thomas, Buck Baker, David Pearson, Dale Earnhardt, and Bill Elliott won this race 3 times. Now, who's won this race 2 times? Fireball Roberts, Harry Gant, Terry Labonte. His first and his last wins were both at the Southern 500, 1980, 2003. Mark Martin, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, and latest to join that list, Kevin Harvick. Most wins by a team, Hendrick Motorsports. So if you Larson fans are hearing this, Chase Elliott fans, well, you better be smiling right now at that. Joe Gibbs Racing, maybe same to you, 7 wins for your Gibbs fans out there. 4 wins for Junior Johnson Associates, Roush Family Racing, and Wood Brothers Racing. Herb Thomas and Richard Childers Racing share 3 wins, and these teams have 2 wins. Holman Moody, Richard Howard, Melling Racing, Furniture Row Racing, Team Penske, and Stuart Haas Racing.
Yep.
Now, in terms of manufacturer wins, Chevrolet owns this list with 27 wins. I mean, GM, you can add them up and they exceed 30. 16 wins from Ford. You can add up the Mercury wins. You'll exceed 20.
Yeah.
7 wins from Toyota, 5 wins from Mercury, 4 wins from Oldsmobile, 3 wins from Dodge. I'm a little surprised by that. 2 wins from Hudson, 2 wins from Plymouth, including the very first one, 2 wins from Buick, 2 wins from Pontiac. I'm surprised to see Pontiac with only 2 wins there. And AMC with 1 win. Guess what? That was the first victory for Team Penske in the Southern 500.
An AMC?
Yes, the Matador.
Who?
By Bobby Allison.
Okay, that makes sense. That was Bobby Allison. Well,
and then Brad Keselowski ended the long drought that Rusty Wallace tried to end many times. Kurt Busch tried to end many times. Brian Newman just couldn't even do it in the 500-mile race until Brad Keselowski.
2018.
Exactly. That was a special win for Team Penske.
Yeah.
And he was on a tear leading up to that race. Does that sound a little bit familiar to what's going on this year with Ryan Blaney? He won 3 in a row going into that event. And Brad Keselowski did the same thing. And Ryan Blaney is about to win 3 in a row. If he can win at Darlington, which might be a tall order, we're going to talk about our race prediction. So let's hear our race prediction. I got mine. Let's hear yours first.
Okay, I got his stats here. In 8 Darlington races that he's ran, he has 0 wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 5 top 20s, 42 laps led, average of 16.6, and average finish is at 17.13. His lowest finish here is 29th. But his best finish is 2nd. The reason is it's so low. He drove for a garbage team for 2 years. This driver, yeah, I have him winning. I know. Like, the reason I think he's gonna win, he's good at this track.
Yes.
He's done. Yeah, and he's trying to get that, and he'll lock into the round of 12 and get his 4th win of the season. His last one came at Pocono in the first race. after Kyle Larson blew his left front blue. Yeah, so Alex Bowman's going to win at Darlington. Who's your pick, Joseph?
My pick to win this race, I'm
Oh,
gonna
jeez.
go with the guy that won last year, Kevin Harvick. He's the man to turn things around in the playoffs. Kevin Harvick's gonna win the Sunday 500 for the third time in his career, and he's gonna join some elite company. And he's gonna go into the second round, the round of 12, off the bat. Now, how's that for shaking up the standings?
Yeah, that would really shake up the standings.
Sure would.
Okay.
All right, we got to talk about Xfinity and trucks. We have two Darlington 200s and 2 different series to talk about. We'll have the
200 day and 2 different days.
Right,
Xfinity Saturday.
Trucks on Sunday.
Yep.
The Darlington 200 for round 24-33. We got 3 races left in this regular season for the series. They still got some ways to go before the playoffs. This year, we had Justin Allgaier going to victory lane. Brandon Jones won the race last year. Now, who wins the most at this track? Who has most wins here? Mark Martin, an 8-time winner. Denny Hamlin, a 5-time winner. Jeff Burton and Harry Gant, 4 wins. Jeffrey Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, Matt Kenseth, 3 wins. By the way, Jeffrey Bodine included the first win in 1982, the first year the reformed, structured era of the secondary series. Now, 2 wins, Ron Bouchard, Kyle Busch, Dale Jarrett, Robert Presley, and Darrell Waltrip. Most wins for the fall race at Darlington by a team, Roush Fenway Racing. And yes, that includes all of Mark Martin's 8 wins. Yes, they all happened in the fall race. Winnegar Racing, 3 wins. Joe Gibbs Racing, 3 wins. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, 2 wins. Most make victories by most wins by a manufacturer in the fall race. Ford with 10, Chevrolet with 6, 5 with Pontiac, 3 Toyota wins, 3 Buick wins, and 1 Dodge win. Now, where are we for this one? What's this year's race going to look like?
Okay, I got my pick. Okay, my pick, this driver, his worst finish here recently, he's ran 5 races recently. They don't have his stats for all his starts at Darlington. So, of the stats I found, like in the last 5 races at Darlington, this driver, he has 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, an average start of 10.8, and an average finish of 12.6. This driver, he's currently 13th in the playoff standings. Driver of the number 1 Chevrolet, Michael Annett, is going to win at Darlington to get career win number 2 and lock himself into the playoffs. Yeah, he's good at Darlington. I've seen him get top 10s here. So if he can keep it out of trouble, he has a shot.
Well, for me, I have my pick to win this. This is going to scale back to some interesting. Something interesting, and I've noticed is that this is going to be a veterans race to win. Justin Allgaier won this year. He's going to win it again.
Oh, so he's going to sweep. So he's going to sweep.
Season sweep at Darlington.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'll leave it very simple. All right, let's move on to the truck series. We got another 200-mile race at Darlington to discuss. This is on Sunday, of course, the filler date to the Motorsport event. Back to Darlington we go. This year, Sheldon Creed took the win, reigning champion. Last year, Ben Rhodes, also currently competing for a championship, won that event. And I'm going to also pull up the playoff standings because this is race 2 of 3 in the round of 10. That will determine your round of 8 in 2 races' time. Well, let's look at the history of this race beforehand. It's a pretty quick one. the first race, we had Bobby Hamilton get the win. Only Bobby Hamilton and Casey Kane scored wins, 2 wins here, multiple wins, more than once, as did the teams they drove for. For Hamilton, it was his own team, Bobby Hamilton Racing, and for Casey Kane, it was Ultra Motorsports. And that meant 2 and 2 makes 4. Dodge has 4 wins, more than any other manufacturer. Toyota, 2 wins. Ford and Chevrolet joined this list. Ford joined that list with Ben Rhodes winning last year, and Chevrolet joined this list with this year with Sheldon Creed's win. Now, back to the point. Because of the truck series and how the competitive this series is, we're going to ask for 2 predictions. The highest playoff driver, if the driver you didn't pick to win is not a playoff driver. All right, let's hear your picks.
Okay, I got my pick. This driver, he has 1 Darlington start in his whole career. He has 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 1 top 20, 1 lap led. He started 14th in this race this year, and back in the spring, he finished 3rd. This driver, he is in the playoffs. He is a rookie. Driver of the number 42, Carson Hocevar is going to get career win number 1 at Darlington. He finished 3rd here in the spring. He did really well in that race. He has a good shot of winning this race in the 42.
I think, speaking of first career wins, we're going to get one right now, and it's not going to be time when it counts.
Ooh.
Chandler Smith will win this race. He's going to break through and finally get that first truck win, and it's going to be popular.
Yeah, he was close to get a top 10 year last year until a tire blew out.
The kind of track that suits him.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see that race on Sunday afternoon.
Be a great one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some F1. The return to the Dutch Grand Prix with some 36 years it's been. It's about time, too. I mean, Zandvoort has been longing for the Dutch Grand Prix to return. And, welcome back to the Netherlands. Holland is a great place to host a Grand Prix. And it's unfortunate they had to wait so long, too. I mean, it's a beautiful track. Circuit Zandvoort.
Yeah, it's interesting. They have the banking, a bit of banking on the final corner. It's interesting. It's always, that track is really interesting. I've raced on it on F1 2020 and F1 2021. It's an interesting track to race on.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the history of this event. I mean, there's a lot to take. Again, of course, the last race that was held here in this event was 1985. Niki Lauda took the win. 1952, Alberto Ascari was the first winner of this race under the World Championship. Jim Clark, he has more wins than anybody else at 4. Sir Jackie Stewart, 3 wins, as well as Niki Lauda. Alberto Ascari, Jack Brabham, Sir Jack Brabham, James Hunt, and Lane Prost, 2 wins. And of course, none of the drivers are competing anymore. And of those drivers I listed, only 2 of them are still living today. Most constructor wins. We do have an active manufacturer or an active constructor winning, holding the win count at the highest number. Ferrari, 8 times they have won. Lotus, 6 times they won. McLaren, 3 times they won. Only 2 active constructors. Ferrari, 8. McLaren, 3. BRM, Matra, and Brabham share 2 wins each. So, obviously, the track has gone through so much renovations. The cars have changed. The eras have changed. The drivers have changed. Records have changed. And 36 years later, here we are again. So, we got to pick it apart and I guess start from scratch again. But I'll come up with who I think is going to win this Dutch Grand Prix, and I know a lot of people are going to be happy with this one, especially if you are a fan.
Well,
Max Verstappen's going to win at home.
Well, my pick is more crazier than yours. Do you know why?
Hamilton going to win in a shower of booze?
Nope. This driver, he has 0 career wins, but he has a decent amount of podiums this year. He He's not scored points in the last 2 races. Driver of the number 4, Lando Norris for McLaren is gonna win at Zandvoort.
Oh, that would be special. That would be special.
Ooh.
I predicted at the start of the year that A, George Russell would get points for Williams, check, and B, McLaren would get their first win since Brazil 2012.
That would
almost
be
there.
interesting.
We've gotten so close last year. We got close. Got close many occasions beforehand.
But yeah, Lando. Yeah, if he qualifies really well, and I guess there's not a heavy rain like
we can't use every F1 race from Spa this year.
No, it says 80% chance of rain for Sunday.
Rain on equals lack of an F1 race. It's
hopefully it's not the Spa's rain.
It's not gonna happen. Listen, what happened at Spa was 1 in a million chance.
Well, maybe Nikita Mazepin will get a fastest lap.
Hey, let's see if he can actually get a points finish for anybody.
Well, the Haas car is a cow on wheels, basically.
A cow. It's more.
I don't know. The car
moving slow as hell.
Yeah. Literally, trying to a Haas car is not fast compared to other cars.
Let's get our predictions. We got the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. We're going to talk about that. Yes, Le Mans is over, which means we got our sports car championships back. The 3 hours of Nürburgring is the race that is coming up, and I'm gonna.
They only had their weird entry list. There's no PDFs anywhere.
Here, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Decent amount of cars. It looks interesting. I see drivers I know.
A lot of drivers, I'm sure, under factory support should be there too.
Iron Leagues, they have Corsa, Windward, Dynamic.
Just the combinations that I'm looking for is where.
Well, Team WRD, Walking Horse.
WRD, they're walking in cloud 9. I can tell you that.
Yeah, Jota has a car. Rinaldi, Emil Frey, SPS Automotive. Yeah.
Is there an entry list to this?
I found it. It's
entry list. Is it 3 to 5? Oh, 3 to 5 September in 2021. I have to pull it up here.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. All right.
Okay. Yeah. It says Pro-Am, Pro. It says the classes.
Right, so let's make our pick. I mean, obviously, any of these guys can win overall. But, who do you think is going to get the overall win?
I found my pick.
Here.
My pick is the number 22 GPX Racing Porsche 991 GT3R, driven by Matt Campbell, Earl Bamber, and Mathieu Jaminet.
Wow, that's pretty much an easy pick, I'd say. GPX Racing is a full factory lineup. I don't know. It's hard to disagree with you on that one. I'm gonna pick for this one. Team WRT, they're gonna continue to be successful, winning the number 32 Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo with Dries Vanthoor, Robin Fries, and Charles Weirs. Now, your pick was a Pro Cup, right?
Let me check.
It had to be. Yes, it was.
Yeah, Pro Cup.
All right, now, who's going to take over the Silver Cup?
A Silver Cup?
Yeah.
For me, for Silver Cup, I have the number 90. Mad Panda Motorsports and Mercedes AMG GT3, driven by Ezekiel Perez-Kompnick, Ricardo Sanchez, and Rick Breukers.
How's Rick Breukers going to be there?
It's only Evo and Luke are in the 24H series race.
Oh, the 24H. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, like
they're all related.
Yeah, so Rick is going to be running in that race at Nürburgring.
That sounds like a good lineup to me. But the Silver Cup's got some more competitors that I'd say you should be looking out for. All right, I'm going to make my Silver Cup prediction. And that will be the number 14 Emil Fire Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo with Alex Fontana, Rolf Eineken, and Ricardo Feller.
Okay.
All Swiss lineup, Swiss team, and an Italian car. Now let's go to Pro-Am. Pro-Am Cup class winner. Who do you have for that category?
For Pro-Am, I have the number 53. And, of course, Ferrari, driven by Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin. They have a driver with just a bar in the middle, so that's nobody. So Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin in the number 53.
All right. So in the Pro-Am Cup, I'm going to have the number 10 Bootsing BMW M6 GT3 number 10 with Karim OJ and Liebhauser and Jens Klingman. I think I've seen them race many times before. They should put an okay result. All right, so there's one endurance sports car race. From one to the other, let's move on to the 24H Series. Back for the first time since May. We got to see them roll again, by the way. The GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup has 2 more races left. I just want to mention that the last race will be on the 8th to 10th October. Ironically, at the same track that the 24H Series is racing, the 3 Hours of Barcelona and Barcelona Catalunya on the 8th to 10th of October. Now, by the way, they're only running the GP circuit for the Nürburgring race.
Not the full circuit.
We'll see that again next weekend, though, with the VLN returns. But okay, now back to the 24H Series of Barcelona Catalunya. First race there since 2019. It's nice to see it back. We got 33 cars overall, and a lot of different names, a lot of different places, but really you see the same kind of teams showing up. So going for the win, I expect, it could be from GT3, might not be from the 901 class, even though it's one Megan we've seen before. We just have a lot of presence in GT3 class. So who do we have winning in this category? Who's going to win the overall 24 hours of Barcelona for 2021?
I got my pick. This is going to be a big shock to this team. This is their first time in the series. They usually race in WC. This team, my pick is the number 17 IDEX Sport Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, driven by Paul Chatin, Patrice Lafog, Paul Lafog, and Nicholas Minasin. Yeah, my pick is the number 17. Who's your pick, Joseph?
Well, that sounds like a competitive one to me, but this is the 24H Series we're talking about. I don't know exactly where to go for this one. I'm taking the number 91 Herberth Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3R with Alfred and Robert Renauer, Daniel Allman, and Ralph Bone. These guys have to be as confident as possible. They got a top 10 class finish in a GTE at Le Mans. This team, the same drivers, they were in Cloud 9. And we know how they roll in these 24-hour races. As long as you make it to the end, you should be fine. Porsche has been undefeated this year. And I think that's going to continue onwards. They have won all 4 races overall, looking to make it the 5th. Herbert Motorsport, they have been strong.
Okay, GTX is the next category.
Now, we don't have fully confirmed entries for all the cars just yet, including
and the 979 Speed Lover. So you have 5 confirmed. Those 8 entries until 5 have confirmed drivers. I got my pick.
Right. I think I have mine too. Let's hear yours first.
Okay, my pick is the number 999 Red Camels Jordan NL Porsche 4.0 liter flat 6. That's the name. But the Porsche 992 My pick
Yes,
is
that's
the 999. Yeah. My pick is the 999 driven by Ivo Breukers, Luke Breukers, Bashor Mardini, and Terry Vermeulen.
You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound unrealistic at all. They're probably going to be the best ones out there, but I'm going to go with a really bold pick, the one that a lot of people are going to bandwagon on, and I'm going to join that bandwagon.
What?
I'm going to take the number 716 True Racing KTM Crossbow GTX concept of Peter Cox, Reinhard Koffler, Ferdinand Stuck, and Miguel Oliveira. Yes, Miguel Oliveira on this off week from MotoGP is going to run a race in 4 wheels for KTM.
Okay, that's interesting.
The KTM factory rider. Who knows? Maybe we'll see more of him in 4 wheels. I don't know. I mean, that would be something interesting.
Okay,
all right, the 991 Cup class. Of course, the 992 cars, they're supposed to morph in, I think, next year in a class of their own.
Yeah,
but for now, they're going to be
3 entries. Yeah, 3 entries. I got mine.
They're yours.
Okay, my pick is the number 909 Duo Racing Porsche 991 because it's the same cars. Driven by Andrei Mukovos, Sergei Pergurugudov, and Stanislav Sidoruk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they could win, but it might come down to laps apart. But I'll take the team that has won before, the number 955 Willie Motorsport by Ibi Motors, with Fabrizio Broghi, Sabino De Castro, and Sergio Nicole. They've won before in the series. I think they're going to win in class again. I expect this class to be laps apart. The only P4 entry will be the number 500 Car Collection Motorsport. With Daniel Berthon, Christopher Jones, Martin Leckman, and Patrick Niederhauser.
But GT4, there's 3 entries.
Yes, let's talk about that category. And I know they've been laps apart too on occasion, but
I got my pick.
Wait, no Aston this time. Just 2 BMWs and an Audi. We'll see how this figures out.
My pick. I got my pick.
Yep.
My pick is the number 438 ST Racing BMW M4 GT4, driven by Chandler Hole, John Miller, Samantha Tan, and Nick Whitmer.
By the way, they are one of the teams that are confirmed to join the all-new BMW M4 GT3 starting next year. They're going to GT3 next year.
Ooh.
I know, big step up. Remember, we were supposed to see the debut of the BMW M4 GT3 in the Vienna race, but the car crashed out, so we never got to see it. I wonder if we'll see it next week at the Nürburgring. Let's go back to GT4 for a minute. I'm going to take, for this category, this is interesting. We got interesting drivers here. I'm going to take Car Collection Motorsport and Audi. The number 409 Audi RLMS GT4 Evo.
409, 499.
Oh, the 499. 499, Jeff Westphal, Mark Issa, Lisa Clark. I think 3 drivers might be better than 4 in this one. I mean, then again, it's a 24-hour race. I expect this class to be laps apart. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I mean, this is a class that could go anyway, fluctuate a lot. All right, now that was the GTE divisions. Now TCE.
TCRs, 6 entries.
6 cars in the TCR class, which will likely go for the TCE overall win.
I got my pick. Okay, my pick is the number 125 Boss Coton Racing Cupra Leon TCR, driven by Christian Frankenhout, Bert Met, Bob Stevens, Jos Stevens, and Martin van den Berg. Yeah, I know there's 5 drivers, but I feel like they're going to win. They have experience in the series.
And as Vin Diesel says, they have family.
Yeah.
I had to squeeze one in.
Oh, my God.
This class. I think the factory-supported Volkswagen Golfs have been tough to beat. Ever since the departure of the Red Camel Jordan's NL team that's operated by the Dutch Breukers team, the Breukers family, they left I think it's going to go down to the one team. I've seen a lot of great stuff by the Auto Run Motorsport by Willpower Racing, Volkswagen Golf GTI TCR, Jazz Pressing, Konstantin Kletzer, Emil Herdaro, and Roberto Ferri will win this race in the division and in class. The number one will take it. The sister car doesn't have too many drivers. I'm not so sure we have of that roster. I mean, they got some interesting drivers. Lithuania's got we got a lot of Lithuania presence in this race. It's really interesting. All right, 2 entries in the TCX class, the custom touring car category.
I got my pick.
I like what I see. You have 2 different kinds of cars with 4 drivers in each one of them. So this might be interesting. Now, luckily, we'll see them finish laps apart, but we'll see how this fares out at the beginning. What do you think, Justin?
I have my pick. My pick is the number 221 Team ACP Tangerine Associates BMW M2 Club Sport entry. Driven by Ken Goldberg, Catsby Jones, Daniel Morad, and Jim Norman.
That's an all North American lineup right there.
Yep, 3 Americans and a Canadian, which Daniel Morad, I've seen him run some IMSA races. That's a good lineup, that 221.
Yeah, Norman, I've seen there too. I'll just go the other one, the 278 CWS Colin White. How about Colin White? He's been in the sport for a long time. He's almost 65 years of age. He's a former car racer, a former European stock car racer who finished second in the championship in 2003. He's been in the Whelen Euro Series, the GT4 class. He's a genetic loyalist. Colin White Racing Engineering. I'm going to take the drivers. We got Jean-Francois Brunel, Agnes Fender, Ian Stinson, Colin White. They've won in class before. I think they'll do it again. 1 car should be enough. I know they're not going to field in like 2 or 3 different entries like they did in Dubai. Usually we see more entries for that race than later in the season. But yeah, nice to see. Endurance sports car racing is back in full swing. This is when the championship starts to settle, especially in the last 2 years when Le Mans was placed in past June, July. So like a lot of the schedules had to be moved. So this is when a lot of these stretches, like these races to the finish line of the season, start to begin right now. The 24H Series is back. The GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup is back. I think we're going to have IMSA back next weekend.
Yeah, on the 12th.
We're going to stick a road race.
Yeah,
they'll be back.
Yep,
the European Le Mans Series will be back
on the 19th.
19th at Spa.
Yep.
Am I missing anything? The Intercontinental GT World Challenge. We have the IGTC is only going to have 3 races. We have the 8 hours in Indianapolis coming up.
Yeah.
Just 2 or 3 races. The Kyalami later in the year.
And
the NLS series will make a return. The 6 hours of Nürburgring next weekend.
Yeah.
So for you sports car fans, just because Le Mans is over doesn't mean that these events are done. We got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So I'd say buckle down.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think that's
2 hour 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically tune into all the races, like Modified Tour they're running at Oswego. We got different tracks for different series. ARCA, all 3 NASCAR series, Penny series. You got Formula One, F3, NW series, all at Zandvoort. It's gonna be an interesting weekend. Hopefully in F1 we don't have 1 lap.
Especially at Zandvoort, please.
Yeah, because Zandvoort the race is scheduled for 72 laps. Yeah, we're scheduled.
Not seeing the F1 cars in Zandvoort in quite some time. These fans will certainly get a long fulfilling welcome back. That's for sure.
Yep.
The IndyCar stretch to the finish. That's
starts on the 12th. Yep, starts at Portland, then they go to Laguna Seca, and then they end out the season at Long Beach. That street circuit.
Supercars should be back. Let's just hope
October.
Australia's in a good state. I mean,
Yeah.
one day they're up, the next day. Now, I want to see them, up and running. Let's hope they are, especially for October. We know or November, because the Bathurst 1000, they had to push it over again. And we got a lot of good lineups. Scott McLaughlin's supposed to come back, especially since the race was pushed to November. I want to see this,
Yeah.
Go to plan. It would be a great showcase for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe Wynkoop could finally get his 6th. But that's all for another discussion. And before we go to this podcast, I'd like to, send our heartfelt condolences out to the family of Robin Miller, a longtime journalist who dropped his racing career to become a journalist and Hoosier from the very get-go of his life, a diehard IndyCar fan and motorsports fanatic. He had some of the coldest truths in motorsport that he was not afraid to release to the people, whether they liked it or not. And that was Robin Miller at his best right there.
Yeah.
And cancer sucks.
Yep. Pierre Bourque passed away also.
Pierre Bourque.
He passed away, 62 years. He formerly drove in the Penny Series. He passed away. Yep, age 62.
Right. So we'll see you guys next week. I know it's been a long podcast. It wasn't all that fruitful like you guys enjoyed, because the F1 discussion was anything but about a race, and more just about just talking and venting over a race that should have happened. I love Spa. It's one of my favorite tracks, and it sucks that we didn't get to see anything besides a train behind a safety car in the rain.
And seeing Mick Schumacher and Vettel playing soccer inside the garage. That's how. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because there was nothing happening.
All right. I think this is a good time to end the podcast. Our partner, Justin Heber. I'm Joe Laney Powell, and we're going to sign off. See you guys next week for episode 127.